So it's the 27th of November. I'm supposed to have a flying lesson today, but as you can see, it's been snowing and it is snowing, so flights have been cancelled. What I am going to do is take my aviation or air law and operational procedures exams. So fingers crossed. Let me talk to you about how I got on and what's involved in those, and how hopefully I passed and prep for these exams. Okay, so I'm on my way now down to Staverton Flying School in Gloucester. It's where I'm doing my flying lessons. As mentioned, my hope is to take and pass air law and operational procedures. Now, I think in the past the Civil Aviation Authority mandated that you passed air law before you did your first solo. I don't think that's the case anymore, but I think just as best practice, or maybe it relates to insurance or something, I'm not too sure. Most flight schools seem to want you to do air law and operational procedures before you go solo, just to, again, make sure you know what you're doing really when you're piloting command of a plane. So I've been doing two things to prepare myself. One is obviously reading the Poolers books, which I've got to be honest, especially for the air law, it's kind of hard going, but you grind through it. And then I've also paid for the Easy PPL ground school, so that's online training. I'm going to do a dedicated video about that, saying if I think it's a good thing or a bad thing, and we don't know until we do it. But one of the things about that that's good is it's got online mock exams that I think are supposed to somewhat replicate the exams that the CAA have in place, and I've been getting kind of 90–95% in general now for the air law and the operational procedures, and unfortunately a lot of times it just comes down to what question bank you get. You know, some of the questions come quite freely to my brain and some of them don't, but got to make a start on it. Again, I'm still a fair few hours away from doing my solo, but I decided to do these today. One, to see what it's like, because I'm a little bit nervous about the exams, because obviously I've not taken any of them before, so this would be a good kind of sample to see how they go. I think it's £35 per exam, the charge at my school, and I guess the key thing to know about these exams, which I'd read a little bit about but kind of confirmed to myself earlier on in the week, is each exam you have up to 4 attempts to pass them. If you fail on the 4th attempt, then you get basically put on like a 3-month cooling off period, so you can't take any exams for 3 months. Obviously you need to go back and do some more ground schooling. But the interesting thing also is all of your other exams that you've taken and passed are null and void. So basically you make a mistake and that's it, start all over again. So I figured there's not too much to risk with these first ones. If I don't pass, obviously I'm taking them hoping, and I feel ready to take and pass them. But if I don't, not the end of the world. Once you've kind of attempted your first one, so from today I will have 18 months to take and pass all of the 9 exams. So as soon as you make your first attempt, you start the countdown of 18 months, and then from the date that you passed your last exam, you then have 24 months to do your practical skills test, your practical flight test with the examiner. So yeah, and I'm assuming if you don't do that, then everything's null and void and you start all over again, which will suck. But one thing I'm a little bit worried about, but figured there's no point kind of putting things off, is, you know, COVID is still a thing. A new variant of the virus was in the news this week, so it might not be possible to do any flying or any exams or anything during some of that time, and that might be a problem. So yeah, we'll see. So fingers crossed, and I'm obviously driving to the school now, and I'll come back and finish this video off letting you know how I got on, for good or for bad, and how relevant my studying method is or was to help me with the exams. Okay, so I've just come out, and good news is I passed both air law and operational procedures, just by the skin of my teeth. 75% on both of them, so not as good as I thought I'd done actually, or as I'd hoped, but I'll drive home and then I'll talk to you about the actual exam, the things I think I got wrong and why, and how my kind of revision thing is or isn't helping me. Okay, so I'm back home now, so I thought I'd talk a little bit about the exams themselves. So, as mentioned before, the way I've been preparing is by reading the Poolers books, and then mainly the Easy PPL Ground School. So, the Ground School, or the Easy PPL Ground School question format is very similar to the actual CAA format, so that was actually quite encouraging going in there. So first of all, I did air law, and you have 35 minutes for that exam. Basically, you go into a room with a computer that's been provided for you. It's all logged in, ready for you to start, and you get given, well, at least I got given, a calculator computer, which I didn't need, and a blank piece of paper and a pen to write any notes on whilst I was doing things. And then you have to give those all back when you finish, so you don't take anything away. So for air law, you get 35 minutes for the exam, and there are 16 questions, and as mentioned, you've got to get 75%. So I took 17 minutes on the exam, and I was done actually a little bit quicker than that, but then I decided to kind of go back and have a little think about a couple of my questions. Basically, during the exam, there was 3 questions that I wasn't too sure about, and they're ones that I don't know if they're the ones I got wrong or right, because it's a bit difficult, which I'll go into in a minute. So there's always the one about the EASA certificate of airworthiness, and I was a bit confused by that one because I'm not doing the EASA exams, so I'm not quite sure why that's in the question pool. But it asked about how long does the certificate of airworthiness last. Obviously, you've got the 4 questions, and I'm pretty sure I put 12 months, which I think is correct. But I also know there is something, I think I remember reading about the certificate of airworthiness, that is valid for 3 years, assuming it gets done every year or something. I'm not sure. So that was one that I was getting a bit confused as to whether I had the right answer or not. So I had a little think and went back to that one. The second question I had, which is one that comes up quite regularly in the practice exams I did, is as a PPL license holder with a instructor qualification, what can you get paid for? So the short answer to that is you can get paid for instructing someone, and pretty much all of the, no, again, there was the 2 answers, obviously out of the 4 answers, 2 of them were very similar. One was you can get remunerated for anything, any instruction with that you have a license or rating for that aircraft. And then the second one was you can get remunerated for any single piston or single prop engine or something. I don't know. So I think I got that one right, but again, maybe I didn't, I'm not too sure. And then the other one that I was a bit unsure about, which I always struggle in my mind to validate everything, is the cloud base for night flight. So off the top of my head, I still can't remember. I think it's something like 1,500 feet horizontally and 1,000 feet vertically. And again, so I just wasn't 100% sure about that one. So I got through there. I actually, even though I was a bit not sure about those 3 questions, which obviously would result in 75%, which is what I got, I was a little bit disappointed I didn't get more than 75% because I have done loads and loads and loads of reading and quite a lot of the practice exams on that one. So when you finish, let me just see if I can cover things up a little bit. You get your results slip, which I'll just try and show you here. And on the bottom of your results slip, it has some numbers. And if you basically look at the learning objectives on the CAA website, you can see the things that you didn't do too well on. So for me, if I just look on the computer here, I'll try and put it up on the screen as well, I guess. There was 10.02.01.02, which relates to the certificate of airworthiness. So I think let me just so again, let's just check 10.02.01. Yeah, so certificate of airworthiness, and perhaps I did get that one wrong. And again, I can't exactly remember what option I wrote. I was thinking about trying to write down what I put for each one so I could check after, but then the fact you can't bring a piece of paper away with you doesn't help. Then the second one was 10.04.01.02, and that one relates to the relevant parts of part FCL and part medical personal licensing. So I think that one relates back to the question about what you can get remunerated for as a private pilot. So I guess out of the 2 that I thought were very similar, I guess I put the wrong one. And then the final bit was 10.05.01.01, which is rules of the air, essential definitions, applicability, the rules of the air, visual flight rules, signals and interception of civil aircraft. I didn't have any questions on interception, so the only thing I can guess that one is perhaps I put the wrong answer for the flying at night piece. Again, not 100% sure. So that was air law. So obviously passed that, and then went in again to do operational procedures. Now the reason for that is I think I mentioned at the beginning, different flight schools want different things, and I'll talk about that at the end. My school wants you to do operational procedures and air law before you do solo. So for operational procedures, again, 35 minutes, 16 questions, and I did that one in 7 minutes. Again, it's not a race, but you don't need all that time. You either know the answers or you don't. And it was a similar thing again, where there was 3 questions. I wasn't positive on the answer. There was 2 again that I thought this could be it, this could be it, depending how I interpret the question. And I guess the answer is I interpreted them wrong, because I did get 3 wrong on this one as well. So again, I'll show you the certificate for that one. Again, similar kind of thing, and you get your little bits and bobs at the bottom. I don't know if you can see on there, it also says that I've got until the 31st of May 2023 to pass all my exams. So if we look at the operational procedures one, I got 0700501. So this one question relates to wind shear and the effects during departure and approach. I always struggle a little bit with this one in the book in terms of sometimes how wind shear affects airspeed if it's head on and tail and stuff. And this question for me just wasn't very well written, so it's one that I was kind of 50-50 on. So probably not too surprised that I got that. So I feel like I understand the theory, perhaps not well enough because I didn't get the question right, but I'm hoping these things will sink in more as you experience them in practice. The next one, 070.06.01.03. This one relates to wake turbulence, and again, I feel pretty comfortable with the wake turbulence stuff. So this question relates to actions taken when crossing traffic, taking off and landing. Now I think this relates to one of the questions that was around wake turbulence in generated by aircraft on runways. So obviously heavy aircraft being the ones that produce the most wake turbulence. And again, there was 2 questions or 2 answers out of the 4 that I was 50-50 on whether that was the right answer or not. And again, I guess I must have just got that one wrong. And then the last question that again I was 50-50 on was 070.08.01.01, which relates to runway contamination. And when I read this question, I couldn't decide for myself, was the question, what should you do if you are on a flooded runway, or what is the definition? No, it was something like, what should you do on a contaminated runway, or what is the definition of a contaminated runway? I wasn't sure, so I interpret it as what you should do. And so for me, a contaminated runway means it's flooded, which means you shouldn't really attempt to take off. And that's the answer I put, and I got it wrong clearly. So I think what the answer they were looking for was a contaminated runway, and then the definition of flooded being large patches of, or large significant amount of water, or whatever the official definition is. So hope that kind of helps. Don't see many videos on the internet talking about these exams and things, but that's my experience so far. So on to the next ones. So there's different recommendations on the order you should do them in, but my school basically has an order that they want you to do them in terms of different pieces. So again, taken before your first solo to do air law and operational procedures, to be taken before your first solo navigation, human performance, communications and navigation, and then to be taken before your cross-country qualifier, meteorology, flight performance and planning, and then finally to be taken before your skills test, aircraft and general knowledge and principles of flight. So I wasn't planning on doing them in that order, but that's the order obviously I'm going to do them in. I was actually hoping to leave human performance till last, because my understanding is that's a pretty easy one, a lot of common sense in that one. I plan to leave that till the end, so I could leave that right up until when I'm ready to do my skills test, because basically when you do your last exam and pass them all hopefully, then you have 24 months from that date. So it's in your interest, I think, to take the last exam as close to your skills test as possible, so you've got more time in case of weather delays and issues and things like that. So yeah, so I think I'll probably do human performance on its own, maybe, or maybe human performance and communications. I think navigation is going to be the hardest one for me, and I think you have 45 minutes for that one. So we'll see how we go. So I'm having a rest for the weekend, and then on Monday I will make a start on one of these. I can't decide what one I'm going to start with. I think I'm probably going to start with communications, because radio stuff is what I want to pretty focus on for actual flying as well. So there you go. Hope it's helped. This has been a long video, hasn't it? But thanks for watching. Catch you in the next video. Take care of yourself. Consider liking the video and subscribing and pressing the bell notification icon. It'd be much appreciated. Till next one. Bye for now.